Fasten your seatbelt, for we are going on a spiritual journey. You are a traveler, a vagabond in power, a very important person. You wanted to stay out of trouble. You have a very open heart, and you thought everything will be good if you just follow your heart. But now you're in the midst of trouble. But also all eyes are on you, even though people try to pretend that you're insignificant, and they try to pretend that they are indifferent about you. But all eyes are on you, for you understand something. And today I want to present to you dynamics, energetic dynamics, family dynamics, and you understand that history does not repeat itself, but it rhymes. And the same is with energetic dynamics of family constellations. You are doing the shadow work for whole bloodlines, for you understand that similar patterns repeat, but they are not exactly similar, but they are rhyming. All right, so they are slight changes, but you recognize the patterns, and you know these can be in parallel generations, or they can be in different generations, but there is repeating self-similar constellations and dynamics. And today we are diving into these. You understand that Anima and Animus are the female and the masculine archetype, but not bound to a gender, but in the collective subconsciousness, or in the subconsciousness of a person. So I will intentionally use these terms wrong in this video potentially, but you understand that they are just energies or representations of an archetype in the subconsciousness or consciousness of a person. So we begin with the overt version of a pattern that I will describe to you right now. And it is the reason why all eyes are on you, even though you tried hard to mind your own business and stay out of trouble. So it is the Knight of Swords and the Queen of Hearts, but they are wounded. So it's the wounded Knight of Hearts and the wounded Queen of Hearts. So the male knight, the male wounded Knight of Swords, is a hypermasculine individual that has learned from an early age to not take time and patience to reflect, but immediately sees the solution and is already executing it. This person has a high determination and is not a good listener. When you talk to this person is always in a problem solving mode and decides quickly and has high capability in action in real life problem solving capabilities. Therefore, this is a hypermasculine archetype. But the person has no time or no training in empathetic listening, in patience, and also has learned not to show vulnerability, pain, or stand up for their own interest in a way of speaking their emotions. So they do not show emotional depth and they do not stand up for themselves via communicating their emotional needs, but they stand up for themselves in action, in competition, and they try to be the first. So they are acting very quickly. This is a blessing and a curse for them. They suffer the success of their own actions and they suffer their own capabilities. People value them and use them for the quality of quick decision making and being capable of executing plans quickly and effectively. This person has learned to perform in order to get validated. Therefore, the way they give their love is conditional. So they are quick to perform in advance and solve your problems, even though you did not even ask for it. But then you are in their debt and need to validate and praise them for the glorious fight that they did for you. These people also suffer from their own violent way to execute plans without further assuming the vulnerabilities of themselves and others. Therefore, they often inflict pain unintentionally on other people, and they also are not good at taking criticism or apologize for hurting other people, for they don't accept that they hurt other people. They are also very prideful, and their pride goes so far that they hurt themselves extremely just to avoid to repent things they did, show vulnerability, and apologize for their behavior. The wounded queen of hearts, however, is kind of the opposite of that. It's an anima, a feminine person that has no high self-esteem, has not built a high self-esteem that the wounded knight of swords has, for he is very good at getting his goals. He is so quick, so strong, so determined. But she has been wounded deeply, as the name implies, and always had a wounded knight of swords at her side to solve the problems for her, and also was a protector for her. She is a very empathetic person, a very industrious person that is working very hard and serving other people, she also, the same way as her male counterpart, is transactional in the way she gives her love, because she serves and submits and also absorbs pain in order to be loved. In some way, these two archetypes project on each other. So there is a form of projection that we all know in dysfunctional dynamics, where we project what we don't like in ourselves on a scapegoat, and we say this person, or we see the mistakes in other persons that we have. But it's not always that way, but this is the way we know. But in this case, it's another form of projection. It's kind of both parties are in consent. It's a relationship, and both people project their weakness on the other, on their counterpart, in order to avoid facing their own shadow. So they prevent themselves from shadow work by being together in this dependent relationship, this vulnerable, deeply emotional, but also it's like a hysterical energy. It's a person that is easily emotionally dysregulated, has high levels of anxiety, this Anima. And she projects all of that on her male counterpart, that Knight of Swords, that likes to be in the role of the protector and calming her. So he plays his role and she plays her role, but through this dynamic, they are dependent of each other, and none of them can go through their own weaknesses or the part of their personality that they don't own, but that owns them, that controls them. So she projects her anxiety, her low self-esteem, her wound of the past, her emotional chaos onto him, and he projects his clarity, his unemotionality, his unshakable, actually fantasy, his courage, his quality as a protector on her. But this also prevents him from being able to be vulnerable or emotional. So it's like they prevent each other from going through that, what they project on each other, and they do this with consent. So the wound of them is the following. The wounded Knight of Swords is wounded because of his pride. He left many relationships in his life unchecked, or he broke them whenever another person was insisting on self-agency, was rejecting his help, was pointing out the transactional nature of his way to give his love. And his pride does not allow him to fix these things. Therefore, he suffers eternally from the broken relationships. And he sees all of these healthy traits in other people, to insist on self-agency, to not engage in transactional forms of love, and so on, as hostility, and builds great walls and retreats into a world full of enemies. and lives in his castle, retreated with his anima as a last bastion against the evil world around. Her wound is that she was wounded by another Knight of Swords that she was dependent on, and she is also easily influenced by narration. We need to understand that narration is not an image of reality or truth. Narration is the attempt of a person, often, to manipulate and create a reality, often a false reality. But she believed it, and because she does not have a high self-esteem, she did not stand up for herself and created justice as a strong anima in her divine energy could do. Justice is represented by a woman. And she lost that what she loved the most valuable thing, to the same Knight of Swords that she now uses and needs to protect her from this deep, deep wound. It could be a Knight of Swords in another body, another person, that did that to her, that manipulated her and created a disbalance and injustice. But she suffers from that, what he took away from her, and she cannot forgive herself that she let that happen. So these people can quickly, suddenly, these people can be very empathetic, caring, helping you. But there is a sudden animosity and hate and jealousy and envy that can flame, that can suddenly spark up whenever you, as a person, embody what they are, what they have disowned. When you are in your Animus energy, but you have your anima integrated, or the other way around, when you show clarity but also emotional depth, when you show courage but also vulnerability, when you show all the things that they together fail to harmonize and fully integrate in their personality, and therefore create another destiny for yourself. Suddenly, hate, jealousy, and animosity flares up out of nowhere, and they are even not aware of where it comes from. It's because you alone do something that they have failed, and they still carry this wound with them. And it feels for them as if you would hurt them or not praise them in the transactional way that they expect you to praise them. Now, let me go to the Knight of Swords in reverse and the Queen of Hearts in reverse. The Knight of Swords in reverse is a borderline covert narcissist. It is, in this version, a male individual showing the traits of the reversed Queen of Hearts, a dysregulated person that has no control over the emotions he can anytime drown in that take full control over him. But instead of living or grounding his emotional dysregulation or openly addressing and admitting his vulnerability, he projects a superficial picture of a hypermasculine, invulnerable, omnipotent persona. On the other hand, the Queen of Hearts in reverse is a female dominant psychopath that gives stability to this wounded Knight of Swords in reverse. So we have a wounded queen in reverse, a psychopath, a female psychopath that represses all emotionality or relationships to persons around them. Everybody is just an instrument or an obstacle for the goal-driven personality. While the wounded Queen of Hearts in reverse is this dysregulated personality. And this is very complicated because in this case, the male person is driven, controlled by the traits that we would rather see in a feminine archetype. The emotionality that is overtaking the person. And in case of the female person, it is rather masculine traits like ice-cold clarity, emotional unshakability, unemotionality, callousness, goal-driven behavior, being quick to solve problems, being the first to do it, being highly competitive. So we see in this case the Queen of Hearts in reverse mirroring the wounded Knight of Swords, while in some way the Queen of Hearts in reverse mirrors the Queen of Hearts, the wounded Queen of Hearts. I think I get a little bit confused because, as you see, it's a complicated dynamic, but I think it makes a lot of sense. And these two dynamics, all right, we see here the male borderline covert narcissist embodying the Queen of Hearts in reverse, using the psychopath to gain stability, to project all the emotional chaos onto a person that is hyper stable because the person is absolutely unemotional. I could explain these dynamics more in depth. I have done it on my channel in form of text, in a text version, but yeah, I also had a very long day and I can't get further into this because it's emotionally draining to explain the deeper dynamics. But I just wanted to show you how it could be parallel generations, as I said in the beginning, or it could be generations that are generations apart of each other, and they recognize each other and can easily be very hateful towards each other because they recognize each other. They know, they recognize each other better than you as the person that is the adventurer, the person that experiences this, the naive person, in the beginning, you did not understand why they hate each other. Why do they recognize each other? Because they are rhyming. They see, they know what emotions are governing the other personalities because there are these similarities. But you did not know the dynamics behind these personalities because you are different. You have already from the beginning probably have integrated these contradictions in your personality, or you were not in these extremes of anima or animus, and you did not have repressed one of each side. I hope it makes a little bit sense to you. Thank you for watching the video. Stay tuned and don't forget to like and subscribe.